Look, you'll hear a lot of talk about students changing in the 21st century and being more flexible, more adaptable, more able to handle multiple information streams on the fly. I'm not so sure that that's necessarily true. I think the 21st century learner is actually quite simple and very similar to the 19th and 20th century learner in that they're interested, they're engaged, they're switched on. The big fundamental difference this century is the amount and the rapid nature of information, and it can quite quickly lead to information overload. So I think schools and teachers need to be aware of the amount of information out there and be really clear with their students as to how to best filter, synthesise and then understand that information that's bombarding them.
Pedagogy is changing simply through asking the question of, now that you have these additional resources at your fingertips, how can you take advantage of them, and how might your lesson have to be redesigned to build in the possibility of taking that advantage? It's not me knowing everything, it's me, the teacher, getting comfortable with the fact that I don't know everything, and I'm comfortable with that because I now can take advantage of these resources to find out the things I don't know. And better still, I'm confident to leverage the students I have in front of me to go and find the things that we don't know and take advantage of that.
We've built a whole skills framework which actually describes at each grade level what sort of skills we want students to employ, which are age appropriate. So things like filtering, civic responsibility, understanding how we conduct ourselves in a digital space are really important skills that students in the 21st century need in order to be active, engaged learners and also 21st century citizens. So for us it's about a really rich technology immersion in our school environment, but also embedding the skills in all staff, all students and ultimately the parents as well, as to how best to utilise and leverage that technology. There were a lot of facts were presented and tests on those facts. I think teachers need to be a little bit more flexible in the 21st century. Certainly fact and skill acquisition is still very important, but I think the real shift that's occurred, certainly in this first decade of the 21st century, is an understanding and a recognition that students need to be actively involved in the learning process and part of that learning journey. And when they understand the reasons behind the concepts and skills that are covered in class, then they become real agents in that learning journey as well.
Exploring a book was talking about theme and plot construction and characterisation and so on, having really rich discussions in the classroom. We introduced him to a blog so that the boys, after having that rich discussion in the classroom, could continue the discussion online. And we had boys go home and 8 o'clock at night had jumped on and written 3 or 4 paragraphs which everyone else could then see at the same time. Pulse Smart Pen, who capture that in both an audio and a digital sense. If they've got their own personal wiki site and they could say, I joined Scotch College in year 1, let's have a look what I did in year 1, and I'm now in year 12. Imagine how fantastic that is. You've captured elements of that learning journey. So
learning technology is an evolving and a changing landscape. We're one of the first schools to roll out iPod touches on a large scale, and we've got 470 of them in the school. And also, like many other schools in our neighbourhood, we're going one-to-one with the Apple laptops. I think schools are in a dangerous position when they don't think through how best to use that technology. It's just another tool, and that's certainly the approach we've taken here at Scotch. I think what you'll find, certainly in a school like ours, which is an all-boy environment, boys are very kinesthetic and they need to move and they need to stretch, and the learning environment, the physical space, needs to be supportive of that. So we've looked at different types of desks which are more organic in shape, which fit together and break apart. We're looking at different types of chairs as well, moving away from a teacher at the front row mentality to more groups that then splinter and fragment. Also with the introduction of our laptops, obviously that radically increases the amount of access to information that boys have. And so now the teacher doesn't need to be the one driving the information for the class, and boys can take more ownership and responsibility for that.
To me, I guess flexibility is the key term. That it needs to cater for the needs of both the different kinds of learners, as well as the learning activity. Sometimes learning activities are very physical and take up a lot of space, so you have to be able to take the technology to where the space is.
Look, it's interesting in a school like ours, which is 110 years old. If you look at the recent spaces that we've built in our science and technology building, the middle school building, our Dickinson Centre, which is in itself a large flexible learning space. The school is certainly making inroads into designing and thinking through the sort of learning spaces and maximising the footprint of the floor plan so that all spaces become learning spaces.